Lesson 1-2, Numbers and Expressions. We have two objectives today. The first, use the order of operations to evaluate expressions. And our second objective, translate verbal phrases into numerical expressions. Before we begin, I'd like to cover two key terms and a key concept. Numerical expressions are expressions containing a combination of numbers and operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You can see the two examples in front of us right here have a combination of numbers and operations. The one thing they don't have is an equal sign. That is something entirely different. Expressions do not have equal signs. A key term that's really important to know is evaluate. It's seen and used in directions. It is basically telling you to find the numerical value of an expression, such as something as 5 plus 5. Evaluate means to add them together. The answer is 10. Our key concept is order of operations, sometimes known as PEMDAS. For pre-algebra, we have four basic steps. One is to evaluate expressions inside grouping symbols first. So if you see something as parentheses, or brackets, or a division bar, those are considered grouping symbols. Our second thing to do is to evaluate powers, or exponents. So we would have to figure out what 2 to the second power is, or 4 to the third power. After that, we go to the third step, and we see from left to right, left being first going to right, whether we multiply or divide. And the last step is to add or subtract from left to right. Alright, we have 3 problems, and the directions for each problem is find the value of each expression. We're going to use order of operations, or sometimes as it's known as PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting. In problem A, I see that I have 3 plus 4 times 5. According to order of operations, going from left to right, I have adding, then multiplying. What we need to know is that multiplying comes first before adding. Multiplying comes first. So we're going to take 4 times 5 and evaluate that. 4 times 5 is 20. And we write at 3 plus 20. Now we notice that we only have one operation left. It's addition. So we're going to go ahead and finish it up. 23 is the answer. Problem B states 18 divided by 3 multiplied by 2. Once again, we're going to use PEMDAS, or order of operations. Division and multiplication require that we use the step from left to right. Noticing that division is first, going from left to right, I'm going to do division first, then multiplication. So watch. The first thing I'm going to do, 18 divided by 3 is 6. Rewrite it using 6. Now I'm left with only one operation. That's multiplication. I can go ahead and finish that up. 6 times 2 is 12. My final answer after evaluating is 12. Problem C, a little more complicated, but easy to do if you follow PEMDAS, or order of operations. It states the sum of 2 plus 9 multiplied by 6, subtract 3 times 8. Alright, PEMDAS says that we should do everything in the parentheses first. So the first step I'm going to do is find out what 2 plus 9 is, which is 11. Keeping the parentheses, putting 6 in front, and rewriting everything out. Parentheses and a number in front of it means to multiply. Then I have subtract 3 times 8. According to PEMDAS, we have done inside the parentheses. Now it's to go to multiplication and division. And the first multiplication problem I see going from left to right is 6 times 11, which is 66. So I'll rewrite it. Minus 3 times 8. Now looking at the problem again, I have two operations. 66 minus 3 times 8. According to PEMDAS, multiplication comes before subtraction. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3 times 8, which is 66 minus 24. The final thing I need to do is, since I only have one operation left, is to find out what 66 minus 24 is, and that's 42. That's the final answer after evaluating. We have two more problems. The directions still say find the value of each expression. In letter D, we have several parentheses, or brackets, or what we call grouping symbols. So this one has several steps to it. We have 4 times the difference of 15 minus 9 plus 8 times 2. So what we're going to do first, according to order of operations, is go to the grouping symbols. Since we have three sets of them, we have to figure out which one we're going to do first. And what we like to say is we like to do the one that's the innermost. So this one here is the innermost. We also have one here, but we're going to leave that because that's just multiplication. So let's find out or evaluate what 15 minus 9 is. So 15 minus 9 becomes 6. Then we go plus 8 times 2, all inside the bracket still. And when we find that answer, we will multiply that by 4. Using the brackets as grouping symbols, we look inside and we determine that we have two operations, addition and multiplication, because a number in front of the parentheses is multiplication. 8 times 2, we'll rewrite that as 16. And so we have 6 plus 16. If you'd like, we could just switch the brackets into parentheses since we have no more parentheses to deal with inside. Still using our grouping symbol, 6 plus 16 is 22. Still keeping the grouping symbols because that means to multiply. So 4 times 2 becomes 88. Our final answer is 88. Our final problem, E, is a division bar. And a division bar is just like a grouping symbol. It says that we should find out what's on top and on bottom. We should do the operations on top and bottom before we use the fraction bar, the division bar, to do division. So let's do the top first. 53 plus 15 is 68. Then we'll do the bottom, and then we say to ourselves 17 minus 13 is 4. So we used order of operations. We did the top, then the bottom, found out that 68 over 4, and this is a fraction bar or a division bar, which just states 68 divided by 4, and the evaluation of that is 17. Our next slide is the objective for translating verbal phrases into numerical expressions. So what you see in letter A is the phrase, the product of 8 and 7. First thing we notice that we have the special word product. Product means to multiply. In using English, or as we say, verbal sentences, product is one of those ones where we're looking for the word and. And's going to help us out. Where are we going to put the multiplication symbol? And the and tells us to put it in between the two numbers. So the product of 8 and 7 mean take 8, and I'm going to use the dot as the multiplication symbol, and 7. So notice that the and tells us to put product or multiplication in between the two. B is another verbal sentence, the difference of 9 and 3. Difference is one of those words that we're also looking for the word and. And tells us where to put the operation. In this case, difference means to subtract. So I'll take 9, and where the and is, I'll put the subtraction sign 3. Next up, we have a word problem. It's a transportation problem. It states, a taxi cab company charges a fare of $4 for the first mile and $2 for each additional mile. We're asked to write and then evaluate an expression to find the fare for a 10-mile trip. So first off, we are going to translate from verbal into a math statement or an expression, and then evaluate. We're going to find the answer. The first thing it states in the problem is that the taxi cab company charges $4 for the first mile. So as soon as you walk into the taxi, you're paying $4 up to the first mile. Next up, after the first mile is over, the taxi is going to charge you $2 for every mile you go after that. Alright, with that information, it asks us to find the total cost for a 10-mile trip. So the first mile we know is $4. After the first mile, we're going to add $2 for every mile after that. Well, we already did 1 mile when we did 4, so that means we only have 9 miles left. In order to find the cost for 9 miles, we're going to say 2 times 9. So now we have our expression 4 plus 2 times 9 equals 4 plus 18. $4 for the first mile, $18 for the second mile. Adding those two together, we have 22. Or, because this is a word problem, it's very important that 22 actually means $22.